Today's topics included a number of different things. The sessions that I chaired talked about AI, talked about diversity, and the big panel discussion that we had was all about how we can leverage and utilize data the most effective way to create better, more accurate, and less burdensome clinical research.
We can't, as pharmaceutical or industry, can't come in and expect that our vendors know exactly what our expectations are. Through clear communication and developing relationships, we are able to really see success on both parts, on their ends as well as executing our clinical trials.
Yeah, I'd say particularly for me, one of the biggest trends we see is the constant desire to accelerate the regulatory submission process and get a product to market faster. And so our customers are always challenging us to find ways to help them shorten the timelines for getting marketing applications created, submitted, and approved.
What we've noticed early on in 2025 is with some of the regulatory uncertainty in the U.S., there's increasing interest in taking trials out of the U.S., so in Australia and other parts of Southeast Asia, and even looking at China. We all know that Chinese biotechs are developing some really great technology, and they have a large access to patient populations. So we are seeing an increased trend and interest in taking trials to that region.
We're actually discussing how there are major academic sites that are no longer receiving government funding. And so we're just trying to plan how that will affect our clinical trials in the future. And if we actually are going to be having to budget to then make up for those costs that are for the sites that are not receiving funding anymore. So are we going to have to put that in our budgets to help supplement that?
So we're both research nurses that would been on the hospital side and the pharma side. So we're looking at, each has a different perspective on clinical trials and research, how it's done, and each has pros and cons and struggles and advantages to each. So how does each look at that, and how can we find some common ground and how to fix that, perhaps a little bit better than what's going on already?
Seeing a lot of talks about AI and how that can be utilized in your clinical research around that, and also what the future holds with the change of the administration coming.
Yeah, I mean, one of the hottest trends in the industry is AI. And so from the clinical trial process, from the beginning of study protocol writing all the way through a clinical study report trial master file, you're starting to see sponsors and CROs integrate AI into the process.
2025, you're still in generative AI age, but the trends we are seeing is that generative AI is emerging into something called agentic AI, which is a lot of reasoning on top of what is out there as models. People are familiar with ChatGPT. Now people are used to the conversational experience you have with generative AI. Now what we are going to do next is, as technologists, we are going to look at every single persona in clinical trials. For example, data manager. That's a persona in clinical trial where they do a lot of these manual activities and they go across systems. So a data manager agent could be doing that type of work. So the trend really is for artificial intelligence to mimic the human's behavior and also perceive the systems and make some decisions autonomously. And that opens up a whole can of worms, we get it. But if it's done in a controlled way, I think it's going to accelerate a lot of the manual things which we do today.